Hello, my name is William Welch, and I'm going to read a couple poems today from the new issue of 9 Mile Magazine. It's the spring 2023 issue. It was just released, and I want to thank Bob, Andrea, and Stephen for including my work. This is one of my favorite publications, and I'm really proud to be included. I have two poems I'm going to read. One is called Dead Horse Bay, and the other is called One of Those Guys. Dead Horse Bay. Do not walk barefoot here. The sand is strewn with glass. Ruinous and inchoate at once, the shoreline recedes toward Rockaway. March. Wind spits rain at the ocean's face. Gulls hover in a landward breeze. At the edge of the beach, above the tide's limit, 7-foot-tall reeds form a canebrake, dry, brittle, soughing. I have entered a flower bed of bones. 100 years ago, Manhattan sent its chattel here, old animals no longer capable of work, the wounded, the obstinate. Butchers slaughtered horses by the thousands. They dumped offal into the bay, but tide by tide the sea returned their offering. Crouching, I find white blossoms growing out of the sand. Ribs, pasterns, pieces of a horse's knee. This cemetery the butchers made has become a garden. Nearby, moss-carpeted boards form floors, a driftwood house, without walls, without a roof. Careful of where I step, feeling one moment I'm intruding, the next proprietary, I walk from room to room. When the rendering plants closed, the city used this place as a landfill, as though we expected the sea to remember our lives for us, to clean away our history, both what we loved and what we disowned, what we brought to life and what we tried to drown. Just as the sea returned the horses, it returns our garbage, half-buried dinner plates, shattered, shine through the sand. Cough syrup bottles, old jars filled with pebbles, roll forward and wave and roll back. Water dabs its salve across the cheeks of a ceramic doll, its skull lying broken beside oyster shells. The ribs of a derelict yacht lie keel over in a dune, as if the makeshift sea were a junk dealer, fashioning a model for a modern whale. And shoes, hundreds, some reduced to their soles, others intact, even with laces, step forward from the surf, as if a whole city of men and women, like myself, were stepping out of the calm waves, followed by a shadow of birds. Distant enough from Brooklyn, there are only 3 sounds here: the sound of rain pelting sand, the sound of water washing over glass. Small waves, delicate, curled, like a boy's fingers arched over piano keys, chime glass against glass. Accidental music. I remember this. I remember sitting at the keyboard on summer afternoons, the songbook closed, pressing keys down so gently the hammers only made the strings tremor rather than resound. What my hands played, I heard, unsure if the music was in the piano or in me, or if it traveled through an open window, missing half its notes. A song someone else was rehearsing in another house. I listened, trying to recognize a melody, until I crossed the point at which the hammers touched the strings without making a sound. That was not music I could play again, or play just once. It was not a text notated, bearing time signature and key. I could not reproduce it then, but I recognize it now. Intuition insists. This is what I heard. Knowledge is reproducible. Intuition is not. Knowledge depends on time. Intuition recognizes time to be a house with many rooms, whose windows overlook separate streets. We look through. We say time has a single outcome, but intuition implies time takes every direction, not only one. Look again. Choose a different window. The water moves back, pauses, rushes forward, a respiration. Each breath brings out another note. I walk close to the cane brake, listening. Wind moves through the reeds, bending, snapping them. There is no sign yet of any regaining green. All around are traces of what this place was, or what it will be. It is confusing to stand here, to wonder if those are my shoes washed up by storm surge, if I am one of the butchers walking home after work, a man who smells iron everywhere, the stench of rotting meat. I think about my life, how it may be a perversion of sacrifice. The sea, god of horses, receive their blood, not as tribute, but out of convenience. I picture the water blossoming, becoming a greenhouse of poinsettias. Imagine the rocks clotted, the waves frothy with albumin. I think about how we abuse our own bodies, lead people into the killing room. What escape is there? Where would I go if I could get away? Closer to the surf, the sand is covered with thick mats of seaweed, kelps, and thin grasses. A few tires and rubber skirts from traffic drums lie scattered around. What if I walk down to the water? If I follow the horses in? What kind of return would the tide bring about? It takes faith to put corn and squash into the ground, to hope the seeds grow. What faith those men laboring in the slaughterhouse had to plant bones in the sea. One day, the crop of new horses will come, the whinny of a wave announcing them. I kneel, a gardener among his calcium roses. I pick one white flower, a blossom to carry with me, a boutonniere. The second poem that I'm going to read is called One of Those Guys, and it is written in memory of Gerald Stern, who passed away late last year. If you know his work and you have a copy of his book called This Time, my poem is inspired somewhat by his poem called Persona. It's on page 280. If you're not familiar with his work, I highly recommend him. He is an amazing poet. So this is for him. One of those guys. You've known one of those guys, haven't you? The one who brings the heavy subjects into every conversation. He always starts with a casual remark, if odd, like how he sometimes compares himself to a moth. Not really in the spirit animal way, and not an adult moth so much as a caterpillar. You think, oh, a self-deprecating joke. I got you, bro. But before you can smooth out the grin, he's broached all of the issues, from the problem of love to the blunders of Congress, and has even made references to Talmudic exegesis, all without taking a breath, all while holding a cup of coffee the barista overfilled. And you can't help wondering how on earth he's going to get that all the way to his mouth without spilling it. What's even more impressive is the steadiness of his hands, because he will hold that overfull cup still for half an hour while he steers your discussion from Shakespeare's identity to neoliberal capitalism, and how we've all been convinced to turn our lives into commercial products. It's a delicate task, for sure, weaving this conversation in and out of the roadblocks of small talk and conventional opinion. Maybe he secretly believes he's a nuisance, that people take him for a nutty Cassandra running around town weeping. But I wouldn't say that, because he is funny and warm. Someone I'm always glad to see. Although afterwards I'm a little sore, as though I've been lifting crates of books or holding a 2x in place, waiting for my partner to drive a screw into the wood. It's a kind of pain you feel all over and take some amount of pride in, because you can say you got something done. Just the other day, I was telling a friend of mine about how my wife and I raised monarchs this summer, from egg to full-blown butterfly, in 4 weeks. We had 19 in total, and don't you know, this guy had the nerve to ask me if I was going to be sad if they went extinct. I want to thank Bob and Andrea and Steve again. This is a wonderful issue of 9 Mile, the new spring 2023 issue. You can get it at 9mile.org. Thank you very much.